I declare the meeting open and welcome you to the April meeting of Council. The recording of this Council meeting will be available on to the public on Council's website for a minimum period of 6 months. In accordance with Council policy, I will now ask Council staff to confirm that the recording has commenced.
Yes, it has, ma'am.
I would like to acknowledge that we meet on the land of the Malacadee people, the traditional custodians of this land. We pay respect to them, their customs, to their elders past, present and emerging. Okay, so attendance. Acting Mayor introduces her councillors. So Councillor O'May, Councillor Newell, Councillor Wilson, Councillor Campbell and Councillor Campbell. General Manager, Acting General Manager, would you like to introduce your officers, please?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Tonight I have with me the Executive Staff. I have the Director of Legal and Governance Services, Matt Grinsey. I have the Acting Director, Infrastructure Services, Sue McCarter. I have the Director, Corporate Services, David Spinks. I have the Director, Community Services, Rebecca Stevenson. I have the Director, Environment and Development Services, Luke Chee. And the Support Staff, Executive Assistant, Sandy Rustle, and ITC Officer, Michael Glazer.
Paul. Oh, and Councillor Gibson. Sorry about that, Councillor Gibson.
That's all right.
So, apologies. We have one apology tonight, and that is Rob Prince, Councillor Prince. A leave of absence, we have Mayor Beck Enders. We have no absent. So, is there any councillors that have a declaration of interest, please? No. Okay. I need someone to move the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 31st of March. I have Councillor O'May and Councillor Wilson. Okay, so the recommendation is that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of Council, Wednesday the 31st of March, as circulated, be confirmed. So, all in favour? That's all councillors present?
Yes.
Thank you, Paul. General Manager, are there any legislative items?
No, Acting Mayor.
Acting General Manager, are there any urgent matters?
No, there's no urgent matters, Acting Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any announcements? Yes, Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to make an announcement, particularly to the Acting Director of Infrastructure. I have a resident who has had some work done up in Brayside Road, and he was just delighted that the response to my email was attended to so promptly, and also my own complaint or what needed to be done on Cygnet Coast Road. It was really nice to get Jade getting back so quickly just to tell me what was happening in that area. So thanks very much. I think it's a great response to the public. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. Councillor Gibson, do you have anything?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Public question time. Where questions can be answered, the question and the answer will be recorded at tonight's meeting. Where questions cannot be answered, the question will be taken on notice and the answer at the May Council meeting. Question time is limited to 15 minutes. Public questions were received up to 12 noon today, and all questions and answers have been uploaded to Council's meeting page for public viewing prior to the start of the Council meeting. Answers to 8.1.1, answers to previous questions taken on notice, nil. 8.1.2, questions on notice, nil. 8.1.3, questions without notice. We have 3 tonight. And the first being from Catherine Temby in Lucaston. The question was, recent Clean Up Australia Day revealed, as most of our roads do not have footpaths, many cleanups were performed outside their guidelines and without the public liability cover. Could Council work with Clean Up Australia to develop a better outcome for the next year? The answer to that question is Clean Up Australia Day does have strict requirements around safety and works to a motto of safety is our number one priority for all activities and volunteers. The Huon Valley Council is very supportive of this approach and has no intention of requesting a relaxation of the safety requirements. Council is not aware of cleanups taking place outside these guidelines. The Council will, however, continue to provide advice to potential groups in the lead up to the future events of the safety requirements, as well as suggestions of areas that are most suited to volunteer cleanup. Catherine Temby's second question is, Huon Pride Together research shows high levels of concern re dangerous, unlicensed drink driving, unroadworthy vehicles, dumping, littering, etc. Could HVC ask Tasmania Police to publish the stats on law enforcement in our area over the last 5 years? The answer to that is Tasmanian Police publish a corporate performance report monthly that outlines police work undertaken within this month. The report is a statewide report broken down into districts and divisions. The Huon Valley is included in the Southern District, which covers from Southport to Oatlands, with the Kingston Division covering the Huon and Kingborough municipality areas. Copies of the monthly reports can be found at Our Performance, Tasmanian Police. Tasmanian Police have confirmed to Council that localised data reports are not available to the public. The next one is from Dr. Liz Smith from Signet. The councillors who have been selected by their colleagues to form the recruitment panel for the appointment of a new general manager have now been named. The appointment of the GM is the most important decision that a council has to make and requires scrutiny of many applications in order to choose a CEO who will appoint staff and most efficiently lead council's management effectively. Please would each of the members of the recruitment panel detail their previous experience in making such a high-level appointment? The answer to this one is the recruitment panel members are elected as a democratic process from amongst the councillors to undertake the recruitment process for the general manager. The process is supported by specialist consultants in recruitment and with ongoing consultation with all councillors through the process. The panel members do not make the appointment of the general manager. This is made by all councillors, taking into account the process. Jeffrey Swan from Lonavale. Will council please advise... Oh, this one here. Can I leave that one to you, I think, Acting General Manager?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. We have a question from Jeffrey Swan, Lonavale. Two questions. The first question is, will Council please advise the total budget allocated to the recently launched You in the Huon campaign to include image and video captures, paying social media influencers and journalists, boosting on Google and associated council staff costs allocated to this campaign, with a breakdown of each of these costs by percentage or dollar amount. And I provide the following answer. The You in Huon campaign involved the sourcing of high quality video assets and the production of a series of 30-second vignettes and a longer 3-minute feature piece. These videos are currently being promoted via an extensive social media advertising campaign using the brand's Facebook and Instagram channels, directly targeting key audiences in the urban and metropolitan areas across mainland eastern states. The advertising will run for up to 6 weeks. Activities such as Google AdWords, supporting and attracting social media influencers, and journalists and photography are all separate to the You in the Huon promotion. However, these support and form part of the marketing event efforts being undertaken as a whole for the brand. Staffing is provided through the Council's Economic Development Unit, of which the Huon Valley brand is a strategic priority. A full budget breakdown of the Huon Valley's brand marketing activities was provided as part of the Huon Valley Strategic Brand and Marketing Plan 2019-2022, endorsed by Council at its 24th of June 2020 meeting. The breakdown is provided as follows: website $600, campaigns $138,500, content generation $40,600, media and influencers $15,000, collateral $10,000, and strategy and brand partner support $1,000. A second question was provided by Jeffrey Huon from Lonavale. The second question was supplementary. What is the budget allocated going forward for the still image capture and future videography of mentioned in tonight's table marketing report? In relation to that question, the answer is the sourcing of photography assets and additional video is funded within the already mentioned budget breakdown in question 1 and will not exceed the budget. So thank you, Acting Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, 8.2, deputation addresses to council. General Manager, are there any deputations?
There is none, Acting Mayor.
9, petitions. General Manager, are there any petitions?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. We do have a petition tonight. I table a petition lodged with Council on the 27th of April 2021 as follows. National Highway C621, road sealing funding Woodstock to Pilverado, Tasmania. Community petition, Pilverado Road bitumen sealing. The petition contains 397 signatories and complies with the requirements of section 57(2) of the Local Government Act of 1993. I recommend to Council that the petition requesting Pilverado Road bitumen sealing lodged with Council on the 27th of April be received.
Thank you. 10, general reports. General reports a minute. Do we have to?
You need to move a second for that.
Okay. Can we have a... Right. Yes, that's what yep. So, all in favour, please say aye. Paul?
Aye.
Yep, thank you. General reports. General Manager's operational report. General Manager, would you like to speak to this report?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Happy to take any questions in relation to the report and attachments, but I would like to draw the Council's attention to an error in the agenda that was forwarded out. If you go to page 39 of 89 of the attachments, under Facebook page performance, there is an error there on the first line where the increase of 8% at the end of that first sentence should read 1%. That has been updated on our website and the agenda will be corrected as we publish it going forward.
Thank you, Acting General Manager. I have here Mayor Ender's activity report, and I have mine as Deputy Mayor and Acting Mayor, and the Youth Committee notes from the 18th of March 2021. I'd like to speak on a couple of things on my report, my activities, and that is Anzac Day. Anzac Day, I think throughout the valley it was nice to have people back. I mean, as nice as it was the year before when people got together at the end of the street, it was nice to see people back in the town. So I applaud all the organisations that organised Anzac Day, because it was, from all accounts, from all councillors, it was a great day everywhere. I'd also like to table that we have a letter from the breast screening unit, and we know that's called Luna. And we've got, they've seen 103 people and women in Dover, which is a 19% up on first time participants, which is really good to hear. and 649 in Huonville they seen. So that's great, and we did send them a letter to thank them very much for always coming down and doing the service in the Huon. So would any other councillors like to table and speak to their activities? Yes, Councillor Lovell.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I had a bit of a backlog, so I've got from January this year. So I'll just mention the Australia Day Awards and Citizenship ceremony that I attended was brilliant. And the Dover Community Hub, I did a couple of hours there in January. Also,
You're right.
Also, in February, I was interviewed for the Reconciliation Action Plan of Council. And also in March, a few things in March, Abbeyfield 20-year anniversary event, the B4 Early Years Coalitions making Mark's Children's Art exhibition opening. And I also went and did a talk with U3A in Geeveston. So that's mine. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, Councillor Wilson.
Yes, if I may, Acting Mayor, I'd just like to congratulate the author of the report as far as marketing strategy report. I think it's an excellent report that's been put together by our staff, and if we thoroughly read through it, it's something I think we should all be very proud of. So a very thorough report. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other? Yes, Councillor O'May.
Yes, Deputy Mayor. I attended a meeting of the Marine Resources last week, and a very good group of people we got together there, and some really great projects that have been funded and well thought out, and I'd like to congratulate all the staff and members of that committee for the great job that they're doing.
Thank you very much. So no one. Yes, Councillor Campbell.
Just following on from you, Deputy Mayor, Acting Mayor, I just was so impressed with the Anzac Day services and the Port Signet Scouts, plus the service at 11. What struck me was the number of volunteers in those groups. And I think that's the strength that we have in the Valley, that we've got so many volunteers, and those young people, particularly doing the vigil all night in the catafalque party, it just made me reflect on how lucky we are that we have very committed volunteers who volunteer their time to get young people to volunteer. So I think it's just wonderful that we've got that. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Gibson, are you right there?
Yes, thanks. I'm fine, thanks.
Okay. Okay. So if we've got no other, do I have a councillor to move a motion that the general reports and minutes? Oh, I thought you'd already had your go.
Sorry, Deputy Mayor, I also would like to thank our volunteers at the Judbury Anzac Day ceremony. As Councillor Campbell has just underlined, these events wouldn't happen without volunteers, and there was literally an army of helpers at Judbury. It was an amazing effort led by ex-councillor Ian Paul. It was an amazing day and good to see a good roll-up.
Thank you. Do we have any others?
Sorry for the waiting.
No, you're right. So, do I have a councillor to move a motion that the general reports and minutes for the period of... the general reports, period from the 1st of to the 31st of April, is that correct? March, be received and noted. Yes, Councillor Campbell.
Yes.
Oh, Councillor Gibson, we'll give him that one. Councillor Campbell, do you have any... Do I still go to that? Yep, yeah. Do you have any opening remarks?
No, thank you.
Okay. I will now open any other comments. Nope. So the recommendation is that the general reports and minutes from the period of 1st to the 31st of March be received and noted. Councillor Campbell, do you have any closing report, any remarks? Okay, so all those in favour? Please, that's all present. And Paul? Yep, lovely, thanks. 11, council workshops. General Manager, would you like to advise on recent workshops? Acting General Manager?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. There has been 2 workshops since the last council meeting. One on the 14th of April where you met with myself and my colleague Paul West. You also discussed at that meeting the volunteering strategy, and you looked at the budget progress for next year's budget. And the second workshop was on the 21st of April, which was a council-only workshop associated with your general management recruitment and a discussion in relation to council meetings. And I believe you might want to talk about the proposal for the council meetings. Thank you, Acting Mayor.
Okay, so from that discussion that we had, we have come to the agreement that we will bring, I think it's 8 back into the gallery as of next council meeting, and then we will go from there to increase once we're allowed. So those 8 will be Eventbrite free tickets. Best first in, yeah, that's the best that we can do at the moment. So next meeting, that's what we will be doing. So yes, Councillor Wilson.
In those 8 seats that we're allowing for that time, Deputy Mayor, should we be putting one of those aside for the media that we've had in the past, and should that be put aside there so someone either from Huon FM or from Huon News is in attendance at those meetings to report our meetings?
Could you answer that one for me? Yep, please, Acting General Manager.
Yeah, through you, Acting Mayor, I guess we can do that. We've just got to be conscious that they may be sought after tickets. We'll need to be fair. We will announce when they're going to be available, and obviously it's going to be first in, first dressed. If that's to the wishes of council, we can certainly set one aside, but that would limit it to potentially 6 or 7 people if they do take up that option. Obviously, they will still get the access to the video of the meeting, so if they're unable to come, they will still be able to enjoy the dealings of the meeting by the recording that is taken. Thank you, Acting Mayor.
Thank you, Jim.
Yes, Councillor Newell.
Just my response to that would be, Councillor Wilson, through you, Mayor, I think that we should really, after the public haven't been able to come for so long, save those 8 seats for the public. I mean, the media, we've got to pick a favourite then, and they can watch it at home on the video and get all the audio. I mean, I don't know what you think, but I really think that being only 8 seats, we should keep them for the public. My view.
I'm in the hands of the rest of the councillors, so I was just making the observation that we should be trying to let at least one of the media come in to report the activities. But anyway, that's up to fellow councillors.
So can we take a vote on that, Acting General Manager?
Through you, Acting Mayor, maybe if you leave it with us, I can talk to both media, and maybe we could have a rotation basis that they could take it in turns, week about, and then you're being fair to both and you're only taking up one spot.
Totally agree with you, General Manager.
Yes, Councillor Lovell.
So is there any way of reserving seats for those that actually have something specific on the agenda? Because if we've got those seats filled up each meeting with the same people, and that's fine, but if there is actually something special on that agenda that relates to someone specifically planning or something like that that might want to have a seat in here, can we possibly reserve a seat for planning?
Through you, Acting General Manager.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I appreciate the premise of the question. I guess you do need to be careful that using a planning application as an example, potentially you'll have a developer, but you could also have 5 representatives as well. You need to give everyone the same opportunity. So you potentially could take up the whole gallery associated with that one issue. There is courses for that, and once again they'll hear if they were able to get a ticket. I guess you on the open on through the website is probably a better way, because if you do provide that opportunity, you need to be fair to everyone associated with that issue, particularly planning, when you could have potentially a developer and a number of representatives that want to listen to the debate. So.
I'm just slightly worried that it will be the first 8 jumping in very, very quick before people even get that agenda to look at what's on it. That's just my worry.
I guess through you, Acting Mayor, I guess it is about how we can be fair, and it's not easy if you've got 20 people that want to come regularly and there's only 8 spots. I guess you'd want to hope that over a period of a few months that there is some fairness in all that, but I guess at the end of the day, I don't think council want to be picking the favourites. I think we need the process to run itself, and I don't think we can do it any fairer than what we're proposing to do. It is announce it, and it's the first 8 that get a ticket under that system will be the way to go.
I guess my only point there through you, Mayor, would be that maybe to open up the booking of those places, you know, in the last week rather than doing it too far in advance, and that gives people who have, as Councillor Lovell mentioned, who have things coming up, that they can get a spot if they've got a planning matter or any other matter.
I'll put that back through to the Acting General Manager.
Yeah, through you, Acting Mayor, I guess my response to that is we will consider those rules and certainly make it fair enough. And I think we will announce it. I mean, plenty of time and the time a bit like, I guess, if you're used to trying to get AFL tickets, sometimes you've got to wait for that deadline and stuff. But we'll give plenty of notice, and it probably will be closer to the actual meeting time. It won't be tomorrow. It's more likely to be agenda week, and most likely the day after the agenda, or something like that, the week before, something like that. But we'll announce the time that it will be available, and then and the process, and from there, I guess the process will determine who the 8 people will be, or 7 if we put one with the media.
That sounds very appropriate.
All right. Yes, Councillor O'May.
Thank you, Mayor Doyle. I'd just like to exacerbate Councillor Lovell's comments. We have had past occurrences where people have wanted to have something to say and they've been at the back of the room and they didn't get to put their point across. So I understand exactly where Councillor Lovell's coming from. The other suggestion I'd just like to make, is there any way that we can regulate who's going to get the tickets? I mean, to say first in, best dressed, potentially the same people are potentially going to get the same tickets month after month. Is there any way that that we can make it a fairer process so that other people, not the same people, it's sort of like, I don't know how you can do that. I mean, I know people sleep on the streets to get tickets to football and whatnot. I don't think we're that popular, but at the end of the day, I'm just trying to make it so that it's a little bit fairer for different people to be able to attend a meeting. That's what I'd like to say.
Yeah, I'll put that one back through the General Manager as well.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I guess we can take the premise of the question on notice a little bit. I'd like to hope to think that the 8 will grow as we move away through where we're in at the moment, as we get vaccinations and those sort of things, and hopefully we'll be back to business as usual sooner than later, but it potentially will be a few months. Potentially could be at least another 6 months too. So we'll take it on board. I guess we need to be very careful we don't make it too complicated as well, because I guess I'll take it on notice and think about that, but I'm not sure how we can do it fairly unless you would go to a ballot situation, something like that. I'll give that some thought about how we could. It would have to be a ballot and be fair, and then you do a ballot.
Oh, it's just a suggestion to make it fairer, that's all. So
maybe we go this month and then see how we go and see what the demand's like, and then maybe think about that for future months. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Number 12. Councillors' question. We've got 12.1 and we had a question taken on notice, and I'll pass that over to the Acting General Manager.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. We did have a question at the last meeting from Councillor Prince in relation to the installation of solar panels on the council building at 40 Main Street, and asking the General Manager to provide indicative costs as a result. In response to that question, we've done some research since the last meeting, and the original quote for the solar installations at 40 and 40A Main Street estimated the maximum performance of the system to result in a payback period of 4.5 years or thereabouts. The review of the performance to date indicates an actual payback period of approximately 6 years for 40A and 7 years for 40 Main Street. An increase in payback periods can be attributed to some costs not being included in the original quote from the contractor, predominantly council's own costs for both sites. In the case of 40 Main Street, some increase can be attributed to a lower consumption of electricity than anticipated. While council is paid a feed-in tariff for the unused energy generated by the systems, the benefit is not as great as if all the solar energy is used due to the relatively low feed-in tariffs that are provided. Based on the current figures, the financial return of the systems is approximately $10,000 per year. That is, once the systems are paid off after 6 or 7 years, council will receive an ongoing financial benefit of approximately $10,000. This benefit would further increase as power prices increase and if daytime power usage increases at the site. Thank you, Acting Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, 12.2, questions without notice. No. 13, questions, notices of motion. Councillors, are there any notices of motion? No?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Through Acting Mayor, there's no notice of motions. I would say that councillor, because they're talking to the next month, there's no motions received to put in the agenda. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. General review of delegated authority, 15.011/21. Do I have a councillor?
Yes, ma'am.
To move a motion? Yes.
I'd like to move the recommendation with an amendment. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you have is there a seconder for Councillor Campbell's motion?
Yes, if I could, thank you, Mayor. Could I second this motion for discussion, please?
Thank you. Okay, do we read that out for Christine? Do you?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. So the motion amendment reads as follows: that A, the report on a general review of delegations of functions and powers of council be received and noted. B, this is the amendment, pursuant to the powers contained in Section 6 of the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993, the council delegates the powers and functions to the Director, Environment and Development Services and Director, Legal and Governance Services as set out in Attachment A to this report, with all delegations to be reviewed as soon as possible following appointment of a new General Manager. C, the instrument of delegation to effect this resolution be signed by the Mayor on behalf of the Council, and the Council seal be affixed on the instruments upon signing by the Mayor. The reason I've actually, my rationale for this amendment is that Council is able to delegate certain powers and functions under Section 22 of the Local Government Act 1993 and Section 6 of the Land Use and Approvals Act. With the appointment of an acting General Manager, he is unable to perform certain powers and functions as required. Delegated authority requires legislative requirements, usually undertaken by the General Manager. Therefore, I feel that under the heading Legislative Requirements, by including the titles of the relevant directors in the amended motion, will provide the community with the same level of authority normally delegated to the GM rather than delegating to a council employee, which is you find in point 14, second point. Council's delegated authorities have not been reviewed since the resolution of Council in June 2017. It is important for the new General Manager to be involved in the powers and functions delegated under these authorities once the General Manager appointment has been made. Thank you.
Yep, okay. So would anyone like to speak on that motion? Yes, Councillor Wilson.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Look, I support the amendment to the motion. I think it's fine and something that we should be doing. It's a different story when we have a permanent new GM on site, but at the moment I think it's appropriate that we do this.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Do we have any other? Yes, Councillor O'May.
Forgive me if the answer's not clear, but this is only a temporary intervention until we get our General Manager back on. Yeah, okay. Just wanted to clarify.
Yep.
That's all, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gibson.
Can I just have a point of clarification? So it was just essentially adding the names of the employees that will do those delegations. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Through you.
I support that motion.
Okay. Through just the General Manager
Through you,
here.
Acting Mayor,
Yeah.
The premise of the amendment to the recommendation is essentially yes to name those two positions, but also add the fact that you will do a review following the appointment of a new General Manager later down the track as soon as possible. That's the only addition to the original recommendation.
Can I add a question in there? When was that, through you, Mayor, when was the review of the delegations due?
Through the Director, yes.
I'll respond to that one. So this is just a general review, which, if you read through the report, just looks at the legislation. The council can review the delegations at any time that it sees fit. So with the amendment that's proposed, just fits in with that anyway. So.
Okay, I guess in my last one, I think that we should take the delegations fairly seriously because it's our responsibility. So I agree with reviewing them when we have a new General Manager.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. Councillor Lovell, did you have your...
No, that kind of answered.
Okay, all right. So then I move, I go to... yeah. So I'll put the motion... No, because don't we... Okay. So, Councillor Campbell, do you have any closing?
No, thank you, Acting Mayor.
Okay. So I'll put the motion. Those in favour, please raise your hand.
Yes.
That's all councillors, and the motion is carried. The financial report 16.005/21. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Yes, Councillor O'May, and Councillor seconded by Councillor Wilson. Councillor O'May, do you have any opening remarks?
Excuse me, Mayor. No, I do not have any opening remarks.
Thank you. All right, I will now. Yep, I will now open the discussion to the floor. Do I have any? Yes, Councillor Wilson.
As always, Mayor, I think the report that's been put together by the Director is extremely good, very balanced, and we've seen this each month that it comes along where we're informed exactly where we are financially, and I think it's a credit to that department. I keep saying it every meeting, but credit where credit's due.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Yes, Councillor Campbell?
Through you, Acting Mayor, to the Director of Finance. On page 12, could I ask under point 10, if you could just explain what additional operational grants are? I'm not quite familiar with what an operational grant is. I am with a capital grant, but not an operational.
Probably the easiest way to answer that is to come up from the other angle and what is a capital grant. So a capital grant is a grant that we receive typically to create an asset, something of that nature. So an operating grant is something which is not that. So it's typically something that funds our sort of operations, as you like, a particular program, for instance, a particular service, something like that. Whereas a capital grant, as I say, funds typically assets. So that's probably the distinction.
Thanks.
Yep.
Yeah. And also, if I could also ask, under capital grants, there's the second item, net gain loss on disposal of non-current assets. Could you just explain to me what they are? Thank you, Director.
Certainly can. So, as you know, Council has many assets. Some of those assets we do dispose of, so the vehicle fleet would be a typical one, plant and that kind of thing. So we depreciate those assets. So if the sale proceeds exceed the written down value, we call that a profit on disposal. Yep. If it's less than, it's a loss on disposal. The other example where this comes up is in infrastructure where we're sort of replacing assets all the time. So an example might be where we replace a footpath. Yep. So again, it goes into our books at a certain value. We assign a life to that asset. We depreciate it. Yep. And there may be occasions whereby we need to replace that asset before its theoretical expiry date. And so therefore we need to write off the value of that asset because we can't have the new asset on the books and the old one. So where that happens, that's called a write-off of that existing asset.
Yeah.
Obviously we try and minimise that through our works program and our forward planning and these kinds of things, but from time to time those kind of examples do pop up.
So just for my clarification, say for example you had a playground that suddenly fell over and it was not current, but you had to do something about it. Is that what you're alluding to?
Yeah, that would be a good example. So if that playground, failed ahead of when we thought it would expire, it would have an existing value in our books, and because it's failed and would need replacement, we would need to write off the value of that it's in the books at. So that's a write-off.
Yeah. Thanks, Director.
Councillor Gibson, do you have...
No, thanks. I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. All right. I don't have anything either. So, Councillor O'May, do you have any closing?
I'd just like to thank our staff and our director specifically on doing a great job of tabling these figures, and it's certainly a relief to see after COVID that we have come out of this relatively unscathed. We've had to pull our belt in and cut some things here and there, but I think we've done a great job as a council and as a community, and the staff have really led in this, and I think it's a wonderful result. Thank you.
Thank you. So I put the motion. Those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors and Councillor Gibson. Thank you, and the motion is carried. Review of rates and charges policy, Gov Finance 005, so it's 16.006/21. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Okay. Yes, Councillor Wilson, seconded Councillor O'May. Councillor Wilson, do you have any opening remarks?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Look, effectively, if we read through these, it's some minor amendments, but essentially it's pretty well much unchanged. And again, a good report, so I don't have any issues with it whatsoever.
Okay. Yes, councillor O'May.
Is this where I bring...
So for the purposes of the meeting, because councillor O'May has seconded the motion, you can't amend the motion. The opportunity may well be that you suggest an amendment that might be included in the motion with the agreement of the mover and the seconder.
can I use that wording, please? Deputy Mayor, thank you.
You need to share the amended wording.
Where's your amendment on,
Sorry?
Where is it?
This is the amendment,
Yeah, which one is it though? How much of the report is it?
the farm relief one that's been taken out.
Okay, councillor O'May, would you like to read your motion? Amended motion?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. In the policy document, a piece has been in there for many years in relation to farm relief. Certain properties, I'll start at the top here. Sorry. Certain properties may be eligible for farm relief following an application by the landowner. Section 112 of the Act defines that farmland as land, A, that is used for substantial agricultural, pastoral, forestry, horticultural, viticultural, apicultural, orcharding, dairy farming, poultry farming or horse farming purposes, or any two or more of the above of those purposes, and B, that provides the owner of the land with the principal means of livelihood, and C, the value of which is increased because of I, its proximity to land being used or developed for residential, industrial or commercial uses, or 2, its substantial demand for the land as rural residential land. The valuer general is to make a valuation of the land as urban farmland on the receipt of a declaration from a council. The valuation is to be made under Section 51 of the Valuation of Land Act 2001 of the assessed annual value, land value and capital value of the land, and be made on the basis that the land is not to be used otherwise than farmland, and take effect from the date of the council's declaration, and take into account the farmland valuations generally prevailing in the municipal area and the location of the land. I propose an amendment to have this retained in the policy document. I've been led to believe with deliberations with staff that it has been there for a very long time and has not been acted on for quite considerable years, but I believe, being a rural council, that we should have a policy to do as much as we possibly can for farming and agriculture in the area, as we are under quite considerable threat from development and housing, as we've seen over the last couple of years. I really think that we should be leaving all avenues open for farmers to be able to maintain their operations into the future.
Through you, Acting Mayor, just to comment on that, essentially the proposed proposition being put to the mover of this motion is that the clauses in 5.5 be reinserted in the new policy that was in the old policy. I think there's a very minor change to it, but essentially, and even if you don't put it in the policy, under the Act it would be available anyway. So it's a reasonable suggestion that's been made.
Do we have a seconder? No? Oh, is the mover? Yes. Councillor Wilson.
No, I'm fine after it being explained both by Councillor O'May and the Acting General Manager. I'm happy with that to go in there.
Okay.
So we're done.
Yep. So we need to move the motion.
Yep. Yep.
Debate, open for debate.
No, not for
Any other speakers? Yep.
I agree with you, Councillor O'May. I think we are under threat with our farming land, and we value and prize it highly. And I think it is important that we make sure we look after our agricultural land and the people who are actually farming it. So I'm very happy to support that. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Gibson.
Well, I looked through the rates charge and they look all in order and I agree with Councillor reinstituting that clause.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so do I now ask Councillor O? Okay, Councillor Wilson, do you have any closing remarks?
No, thank you. I think we've discussed it enough. Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. I'm quite happy with it.
Okay, so I'll put that motion. Those in favour, please raise your hand.
Yes.
Okay, that's all councillors and the motion is carried. I now advise that the council is acting as a planning authority as at in accordance with the provisions of Part 2 Regulations 25 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulation 2015, the council will now act as a planning authority pursuant to the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993. Okay. Brighton Council proposed amendment to the Southern Tasmanian Regional Land Use Strategy 2010 to -2035, agenda number 17.008/21. Do I have a councillor to move the motion? Yes, Councillor Lovell. Seconder? Councillor O'May. Councillor Lovell, do you have any opening remarks?
No, thank you, Acting Mayor. I'm happy with this one.
Thank you. So I'll open it up to the floor for discussion. Any discussion on this one? Councillor Gibson?
It seems pretty straightforward and it's sort of pretty much within the town boundaries, similar sort of stuff that we're dealing with in Huon Valley. So.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay. So Councillor Lovell, do you have any closing remarks?
No, thank you.
I'll put the motion. Those in favour, please raise your hand.
Yes.
That's all in favour and the motion is carried. Ooh. Items to be dealt in closed. It is time again to advise that council is about to go into closed council. So thank you everyone for attending online and we look forward to seeing some people in the gallery next meeting.